Remember that sunshine? What was that sunshine? Oh, so I'm trying not to shiver too much. Good afternoon, Gina. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Oh, no, well, thank you. And big, warm Girl About welcome to you. We'll introduce you properly and everything and kind of talk more about why we brought you on board and what we want to be doing. But yes, welcome everybody who's watching us this afternoon. Me and Gina are absolutely freezing, so we're just going to try and warm up a little bit.
We were just saying that, weren't we?
I don't want to sit here with my arms folded, but
I'm going to try not to, but we are quite cold, just so you know.
But thank you everyone for watching this afternoon. We are joined by Gina, our Girl Ambassador LGBT Travel. I'm sorry, I completely said that completely wrong. Let me start again.
Start again.
We are here to welcome on board Gina as our Girl About Travel's LGBT and Inclusion Ambassador, and welcome her onto the team and get to know a bit about you, Gina, and have a chat and talk about what we're going to be doing together in the future, and also what you've recently been doing for us as well, which is very exciting, and we will come to that in a moment. So yes, hi Gina, thanks.
Hello. No, thank you, and thank you for having me on board. I'm super excited. I can't even tell you how excited I am. So looking forward to getting stuck into this conversation and see where it takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely. It's really cool. So let's start. I mean, tell us a bit about yourself. What's your background? How you bill yourself as a LGBT inclusion consultant?
Yeah.
What does that mean, and kind of how did you get to be that?
To do that, that's a very good question. Right. So I'm not going to take you through like a whole life history because we'd be here all day. But I'll kind of give you
know when you were born, what your parents did, where you grew up, the first school you went to.
First dog's name.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Where shall I start then? Right. I get the big part of the story is I'm LGBT. I identify as LGBT. I came out when I was 21. My mum outed me, which was quite strange, but welcome at the same time. So you can imagine it, right? Christmas dinner, everybody's there. Yeah, exactly. And we had some friends over that we've known for ages, my mum and dad's friends.
Yeah.
And we'd not seen them for a while. They asked the question, so Gina, have you got a boyfriend? To which my mum replied, no, she's got a girlfriend. She'll be here in the next 10 minutes. At which point I was like mortified. Ran upstairs, didn't see anybody for the rest of the day. That was it.
Oh, what about when your girlfriend came round?
She just came upstairs and that was it. And to be honest, obviously it was mortifying at the time, but it was really great way to get it out in the open without. I hadn't even told my mum. I'd not had that conversation with her.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't like I'd sat down and said, Mum, this is what's going on for me. Yeah. She just knew, Yeah. So that's kind of really big chunk of the story. You need to know that from.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of when I was born, I'm nearly 40, so you can work that out. Right. Yeah. So I've been out pretty much like half of my life now.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool.
You back down from your bedroom, which I'm pleased to see.
Yeah, I did eventually. It took a while, and interestingly, nobody said a thing when I did.
Really?
So that it was a bit awkward, but it was fine, So out in the open, that was great. Then I trained. My degree was actually in theatre design. So I was learning how to do lighting and sound design for the theatre. But as part of that, and a bit before that, I was doing a lot of acting as well. So I've got this acting background. I'm really quite comfortable in front of the camera, in front of people, in front of, speaking on big stages. That kind of stuff is quite normal to me.
Yeah.
Been doing it since I was about 16. So I went into theatre design, learned all about that, realised there was no jobs in it. And thought, right, what am I going to do now? At which point my mum was a teacher at the local college, and she kind of steered me and said, why don't you look into teaching?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I started off teaching drama and acting and voice control to 16-year-olds, which was fascinating. But you've got to bear in mind, I'm only like 4'11" and a half.
Gina, I'm really sorry to pause you there 1 second. There's someone at the door. The joys of live broadcasting. Excuse me one moment, everybody.
Go for it. I want to know what you've ordered though when you come back. The joys of live broadcast. That's funny.
I've got a brown package with something. I don't know what it is. Right, so sorry.
Is it interesting? I want to know if it's interesting.
It looks quite interesting. I won't hold this up any further.
No. Okay, so
yeah, 16-year-olds.
Yeah, to cut a long story short, yes, I was in the background of drama, theatre, all of that. Went into teaching. Now, when I got my first real teaching role, which was in a further education college, I was bullied for being gay. So I wasn't out in the workplace. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't know how it was going to be received. And what I had observed whilst I was there was quite, it just didn't feel like a comfortable place for me to come out, basically. So I didn't say a word to anybody. But then it came to my birthday. My mum works at the same college. She has a habit for outing me, my mum. You've got to know that up front. So she comes into the office and she was like, happy birthday, Gina, all of that kind of stuff. Gave me a cake in front of everybody. And then she was like, right, I'll see you later with your girlfriend and we'll have dinner together. At which point everybody in the office, their jaws dropped. You know, they were like, oh my God. I'm like, thanks, Mum. See you later. Again. So she outed me and everything was fine. Everybody in my office was fine except for one person, my manager. And she ended up bullying me for quite a significant period of time. And it got to a point where I wasn't able to teach classes in the morning. I ended up getting irritable bowel syndrome, which meant that first thing in the morning, I was really, really poorly. I was literally on the toilet most of the morning and I had to get signed off of classes. I couldn't teach at all in the morning. I ended up having to do afternoon and evening classes. Yeah. And it got to a point where I thought, why am I doing this? I was a size 16 at the time. Now I'm only 4'11.5", so that for me is quite big. Yeah. So I wasn't feeling good, both mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that stuff. Yeah. And it got to a point where I thought, why am I doing this? There's got to be something else. So I learned coaching. I learned how to coach people. Yeah. And for me, that was the start of my self-development journey, basically. I went down this whole process of self-development, and after quite some time of still going through this bullying experience and learning all this new stuff, I decided that I wanted to leave that behind. I didn't want to teach anymore. So I left that and I started my own business, kind of leaping into the unknown, if you like. And my business is basically now, I've been doing it for 10 years, and it's basically where I go into businesses. So I go into big organizations, and I deliver training and consultancy around how to be more inclusive, not only for LGBT individuals, but I've widened it out more recently into what I call psychological safety, which is basically where anybody can feel safe to bring all of who they are to work. So it's applicable for everybody. And there's 5 key areas that you need to know about in a workplace to make sure that everybody is able to be safe when they're at work and be themselves. Yeah. So that's what I do. I go in, I deliver training, deliver a lot of consultancy. I run retreats as well. I've been doing that for a good few years now. And the retreats are all about how to be your authentic self. Quite often we lose sight of who we are, you know. So I deliver those workshops on the retreats, and I deliver one-to-one coaching as well. So I'm still doing the coaching that I learned all those years ago.
Oh, that's good. So it's come around. It's all. I hope. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you have such a horrible manager.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant at the time, but I must say it was the making of me. Even though at the time I didn't think it was a great experience, actually it's given me the platform to be able to go off and, you know, and have some amazing experiences off the back of that whole experience. Yeah. And what I learned is, and this is why I come with the travel side of things, I absolutely love traveling. So when I started doing the retreats, I was on the retreat and we just finished the very first one. And I remember thinking, how can I do this more often? Right? How can I be paid to work abroad? Because this is what I really love. So you have to know in the back of your head that I have this huge travel bug. I think I'm a bit of a nomad. Yeah. I think I'm a bit of a nomad. We've got a camper van and we like to go off in that in the UK. But yeah, I love to travel internationally and experience new things, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's my background in a nutshell. Hope that's been helpful.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And that sounds brilliant. That sounds really interesting from the point of view of just making everybody feel safer and more inclusive, are there any sort of, I mean, obviously it's a huge in-depth subject, but are there any quick pointers that you can give us now that people can just have in their everyday life, just to kind of make people feel a bit more welcome?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think always the first thing is about you. You've got to become more self-aware of who you are, what you believe, and where those beliefs come from. So quite often, we carry all this stuff with us from being a child. So I've got loads of baggage around growing up in a heterosexual world. So when I was young, and even now, you know, on TV, all I saw was heterosexual relationships. I didn't see anything else.
Yeah.
And that for me, especially when I was, you know, coming out and going through those early days, it was quite difficult for me, because I was looking at it and thinking, well, I'm not normal, you know. I can't see any representation of who I am on TV. So that makes me not normal. So I had this baggage that I was carrying for years and years and years, and everybody has similar baggage, but under different guises. So yours might be, I'm not good enough. It might be, I'm an imposter. You know, there's loads of different things that can go on underneath the surface. So the key thing is to identify what is going on underneath the surface for you.
Okay.
And start to understand what that is and how it shows up. And once you get that awareness, that then helps you to be able to change some of that. Because without the awareness, you can't do a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
That's always the first step. Become aware of who you are and what's going on underneath the surface.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Should take that's you hit the nail on the head with the imposter bit. But anyway.
Yeah. So many people have that.
Yeah. Oh, but so the travel bug. Where was your first sort of retreat that you? So you've been running them as well. Where was the first one that you did?
Yeah, the first one I did was I trialled it in the UK. Actually, I went up to the Lake District and it rained the whole time.
What do you mean?
No, it really did, right? So I got a group of 10 people. We'd hired this, the accommodation and everything, and it was lovely. You know, we went out walking, we did lots of activities, but it was raining the whole time. And that, for me, put a dampener on most of the weekend, you know, that we spent together. So after that, I thought, right, I'm going to take this one step further, leap into the unknown. I researched Portugal because I just wanted to go there, just wanted to experience it. And I was going to run it around my birthday. So I thought, where do I want to be on my birthday? Oh, that was the driving force behind it, right?
I've done so many trips like, completely. Let's make this work somehow.
I want to be there. So how can I make it work? So that's what I did. So I really randomly, I went on Google and I was researching like eco retreats. That's what I was looking for, because a big part of who I am is about being sustainable, and really thinking about travel and how we experience other places without leaving a massive footprint. That's a really big thing for me. So I researched on Google. I found a couple of places and I just gambled. Basically, I'd never been to it. It was my very first time in Portugal, very first time to the retreat centre, and thankfully were absolutely amazing. When everybody arrived, I was like, phew.
Oh, well done. I'm glad it paid off. Well, and then also that brings us nicely to where you've just been recently on your first Girl About assignment.
Absolutely.
In Portugal. Shall we show the little video from you got back? You got back recently, didn't you? How many days of quarantine have you got left?
Too many.
Sorry.
Shh, we don't talk about that. So I got back last Saturday. So I've got about another week.
Oh, you're nearly there. It's fine.
I'm still alive. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. Got to keep venturing out, as you say. We've got this video. So yes, Gina, you went to Portugal. You went to 2 places, didn't you, for us?
I did. Yeah. So I went to Lisbon. Spent 3 days in Lisbon. And then 4 days, we hired a car and we drove up to Castelo Branco.
Right.
Stayed there for 4 days.
It's not an area particularly well known, is it? Whereabouts is it? It's further up.
Right. So imagine you've got Portugal. There's your strip of Portugal, right? Lisbon's kind of halfway up on the left on the coast. Yeah. So Castelo Branco is in the centre. So you need to go across quite a bit, up quite a bit, and it's there.
Okay.
It's central. It's central, basically.
Oh, nice. Well, let's have a look at the video, and then we can talk a bit more about. We're just gonna share this. 1 second, and that should play. Oh, Gina, that looks
Took me back there.
Yeah.
No wonder I'm cold.
Look at that sky.
Oh no. 32 degrees when we got there.
Oh gosh, oh, don't.
Yeah, I know.
So you had a good time. How did you find it as an inclusive place to visit?
First time in Lisbon, not been to Lisbon before. I was quite surprised actually. So I've heard, I always do my research before I go anywhere to figure out, is it inclusive? Where are the best places to go? Is there somewhere that's a lot safer in the city than others for us? Yeah. So I did all of that beforehand, and I knew that it was quite a liberal place to go, and I knew that we would be safe. But there's always the niggle in the back of your mind of, actually, is this going to be safe? Yeah. We got there, and like most cities, I guess, really, it was really multicultural. There was loads of people from different cultures, backgrounds, race, sexuality. We saw loads of people, LGBT people on the streets. Yeah. The hotel was inclusive as well. Quite often you go to a place and, yes, it might be liberal, but the hotels are not so. Okay. But the one that we stayed in was fantastic. So, yeah, I was really quite surprised.
Fantastic. I mean, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So many patterns, colours, vibrancy. Did that just spread across the whole city?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. So a couple of things that really struck me were, one, the tiles. There's such beautiful tiles over there. If you've ever been, you'll know that. Yeah. The second thing is around the street art. So in the UK, we have street art, but it's not like that street art that you just saw in the video. Yeah, they were like so intricate and just so like awe-inspiring. You could go past something and just spend like 20 minutes looking at a piece of street art. It was incredible.
Oh my gosh. So more than just the Banksy on the wall.
Yeah. It was everywhere. It was literally everywhere. And the video that you just saw was footage of it going on a tuk-tuk. So we went out to the National Tile Museum one day, which was basically...
Probably just explain to watchers as well that your girlfriend is a complete tile fanatic, isn't she?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure she won't mind us outing her as a tile complete yardo.
She's self-confessed, yeah. In fact, most of my suitcase was full of tiles when I came home. Anyway, that's another story. Yeah, so we went to the National Tile Museum, and Paula was super excited, and I was like, oh, here we go. But I was actually quite surprised at how good it was. But on the journey, we hired a tuk-tuk, and he took us through all the back streets and stuff. And that's when we saw all of the street art. That's when we saw all of the beautiful architecture. You can see it when you're walking, don't get me wrong, but the minute that you're on any public transport or a tuk-tuk or a bike or any of that stuff, that's when you really see it, and you can see the vastness of it.
So, and with the street art, is it all, are they trying to do political messages, or is some of it just beautiful for beautiful's sake, or kind of what's the mix?
That's a good question, actually. Quite often when I've been places, it's usually for a political statement. But this didn't appear to be to me. Yes, there was like the odd one or two here and there, but the majority that I saw were just really pretty pictures, really beautiful, intricate artwork.
Yeah. Oh, cool, gorgeous, fabulous. And then and then you moved up inland.
Yeah.
And how did that compare?
So in my research, I knew that it wasn't going to be as liberal because it wasn't a big city, where any big city that you go to around the world tends to be, quite bohemian and accepting. So when we went up there, I knew not to expect the same thing. And I was glad that I'd done my research because I went into it with a very different frame of mind.
Right, okay.
If I'd have gone into that area thinking, absolutely, it's totally inclusive and I'm not going to face any issues, then I might have been quite disappointed.
Right.
That's not to say that I experienced anything. Don't get me wrong. I didn't, we didn't go anywhere and get any abuse or anything like that. We didn't have any funny looks or any funny comments. But then when we travel, we don't tend to be like overly doing the public displays of affection. We've got so used to not doing that because of the consequences of that when we travel abroad, we don't tend to do that anyway. So part of that, I think, would have been different if we had have been a little bit more affectionate in public. I think it's just a different kind of mindset, I guess, really, because in the city, you have like a lot of, it's very fast, isn't it? It's very quick moving, and there's a lot of different people coming and going. Whereas when you go up north, what I noticed is there's a lot of locals. You have a lot of local people. They're not used to outsiders. So it's a very different kind of atmosphere, I guess.
Yeah. It's so sad that
It's just what it is.
it's frustrating. Have you got any suggestions? You say about you do your research before you go somewhere. Have you got any suggestions for any other LGBT travellers for particular things to look out for that gives you an indication that a place is going to feel friendlier?
Yeah, sure. In fact, I posted on LinkedIn to ask if anybody had any questions that they wanted answering, and that is one of the questions that was asked, actually. Right. So I'm glad you've raised that. So when I'm considering whether somewhere is safe enough, what I tend to do is I start off by Googling. Yeah. Do some research in terms of the laws of the country. The laws are really important.
Right. Okay.
So, for example, let me give you a couple of examples here. So Zambia, for instance, we went and canoed down the Zambezi River in Africa. We stayed in Zambia.
Yeah.
Now, when we went there, what I found through my research is actually that there is punishment for being LGBT. It's not like here. The punishment is life imprisonment. In some places, you can even get the death penalty. Some places in Asia Pacific area, that can be quite extreme, as well as Africa. That tends to be quite a difficult country for us to travel in. So I always
quite extreme, but yes, it's
yeah. So ranging from like here, yes, it's legal. Got same-sex marriage that's legal, trans rights, even though we're having a bit of an issue at the moment with those. Generally they're much better than other countries. Yeah. So always start by looking at what the laws are. The laws are really important because that will give you a feel for where's good to go and where you really don't want to be affectionate in public. That's not to say that you can't travel there. We've been to some quite dangerous places. We've been to Zambia. I've been to South Africa a couple of times. We went to Bahrain as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so really quite dangerous places to travel as an LGBT couple. but what I found is we still go there, you know, but we just monitor what we're doing publicly. And also we tend to travel with other people when we're going to those places. So like when we went to Bahrain, we have a friend that lived out there. So we went and stayed with her. We were safe because we were with her. If we hadn't have been with her, it would have been totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course.
So laws is important. The second one is research the area that you're actually going to. So for instance, I wanted to know whether Lisbon was LGBT friendly. I very quickly found that it was. Right. And I was looking at things like hotels, typing in LGBT hotels in Lisbon, LGBT restaurants, LGBT bars, LGBT groups, and LGBT activities. And loads of stuff came up.
Right, okay, yeah.
You know, if I'd have typed in Poland and that, it'd have been a very different kettle of fish.
Okay. Yeah.
So I always look to see what comes up. And then third thing is ask people that you know. So ask people that have been, or ask people when you get there. So like hotels are a really good source of information. When we got to the hotel in Lisbon, I didn't ask anybody beforehand. I went in and I asked the hotel, and they recommended a couple of areas that are LGBT friendly in the city, and they directed us towards those, which was brilliant.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
the tourist office told me that every hotel in Lisbon is LGBT friendly. So there was just a complete utter, of course, why wouldn't they be? Almost, it was a really good response from them. I'm quite encouraged by that. So, was there anything else? Was there anything else that you wanted to cover today? Actually, just thinking about. Well, also the other thing I wanted to cover, was the what we're going to be doing more of in the future. So we're going to be sending you out to more places. Thank you.
No, you are. Thank you. I'm more than happy to do it.
But were there any other issues around LGBT travel that it'd be good to discuss right now?
I think what we just talked about then covered like the majority of things really. Main thing is do your research, ask people that you know, and trust your instinct as well. You know, if you're going out, especially later at night, that's when we tend to have issues. If you're going out later at night, try and go out with somebody else.
Okay.
And if you're not able to go somewhere else with somebody else, make sure that you are around people. So don't go somewhat like down all the little side streets to explore. Wait until the daytime to do that, because you just never know. As an LGBT person, you have no idea what might happen. So just have safety in the back of your mind at all times and just be alert.
Yeah. And even in somewhere such as Lisbon, you would
so we even there we made sure that there was always people around us, and we didn't especially in Portugal, they have all these tiny little quaint streets, and we love to explore. You know, we absolutely love to get on our feet and go and explore those places. But I think for us to have done that as a gay couple, even though, you know, there was a lot of people around, there's quite a lot of light as well, you know, it was well lit. Even going down a tiny street, you have no idea what might happen. So we just don't do it. You know, we stick to the busiest streets, and we go on all the little streets during the day when everything's open and it feels a bit safer. Yeah,
it's I guess it's I don't know, is it a similar thing to just being a single woman as well? You wouldn't go down those.
I think so. Yeah, it's like any kind of minority as well. You know, if you were in a predominantly white environment and you were, I don't know, black, mixed race, you know, whatever, you might have the same concerns. So whenever I'm talking about this, I've always got in the back of my mind, this is applicable to other people as well, not just the LGBT community. So I think that's just general guidance, isn't it? When you go traveling, just stay safe, use your, you know, keep your eyes open.
No, and that's why it's so great to have you on board as well, from just a wider inclusion, bring that fresh perspective to everything, and you know, hopefully just make it as possible for everyone to travel as much as possible.
Because let's face it, traveling's amazing.
Exactly.
So, you know, you need to do it as much as you can, but staying safe at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much, Gina, for your time and for coming on board.
Welcome.
Really, you know, we're all really pleased to have you here. So and thank you everyone for watching this afternoon. And Gina will be around, she'll be in the club, so you know, answering questions, that sort of thing, and just generally inspiring us with more adventures down the line. So
keep a lookout for the next one.
Definitely. And thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll I'm sure we'll be live again very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.